Yes, and I will.
So it's finally part 2 of showing you what this crazy camera produced, and that is the 3D world behind me. Now, when you look at this 3D world, it's actually animating and coming to life as we're gonna be walking through the Nashville Strip. So we started in Printer's Alley, and I was actually able to animate a flyover almost looking down at the city below. Now, as we go through here, not only is it capturing an amazing image, it's also capturing LiDAR data. Now, LiDAR data is incredibly important here because it's getting real world scale. And if I have real world scale, you can train robotics on it, you can do construction, you can do real estate. It doesn't just end with media and entertainment. And as we fly around this corner here and you look at the cars in front of us, these cars were actually stopped at a red light and then continued on once they actually got the green light. And you're starting to see the artifacts here of not only the cars, but also the people. And so this camera is actually trying to remove those people in the process. And so we end up at this final location here at the Johnny Cash Museum. And honestly, for a 5-minute scan and what this thing produced, I'm really impressed. And yes, I know there's artifacts everywhere, but I threw everything I could at this camera. And at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Now, if I'm gonna do this test again, which I am when I go back into town, I'm gonna try and capture it late at night to test the low light capability. And ideally, there's not as many people on the sidewalk or on the road. And so honestly, for what it's worth, I think this was a pretty good test, and we'll continue to do these tests as we go.
Hello everyone. Today our webinar starts, and today we have Fernando together with us. He is the CEO of Volinga, and our another speaker is Ian from Dimension 5. However, he got some other things today, so I will have his recorded version for today's webinar. And yes, firstly is the backgrounds of today's webinar. Things like 3D Gaussian Splatting has already make some hits in the market these days. It attracts a lot of attention because this is really new technology, which is for the reality representation, very photoreal. But actually, the team or the webinar we want to the direction we want to move forward is that we not only see it as a beautiful visual things, we can also use it applied it in different industries. So we have this series webinar, and today's we are very lucky to invite 2 of the professionals in the filming industry and the video making industry. They are very specialized in using different tools, and they make their own tools for all the community. And Fernando is also have his own tool, Volinga plugin for Unreal Engine. For those who are very familiar with Unreal Engine, you may have the opportunity to use this kind of thing. And firstly, let me introduce Fernando for a while. Fernando, please say something about yourself first.
Yeah. Well, hello everyone. Thank you, Mindy, for having me here. I'm Fernando Rivas. I'm CEO of Volinga AI, and at Volinga AI, we try to make 3D content creation for media and entertainment professionals as easy and as fast as possible. Uh, we all identify that there is a bottleneck in this 3D content creation pipeline, especially for virtual production, and that's the problem we are trying to solve.
Yeah, great. And then I will give the mic for Fernando to have his presentation today, and he will go deep into his pipeline and how he used this new technology into different things and the application scenarios. And after that presentation, we will have a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment area. We will try to answer most of them. So here is your time, Fernando.
Great. Thank you very much, Mindy. Let me share my screen and let me know when my screen is on. Okay, there we go. So yeah, well, thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. And as we said, at Volinga, we are trying to supercharge 3D content creation for media and entertainment. So this is a small reel of some of the things we have been working on, but some years ago, we identified that with the new race of virtual production and real-time rendering in media and entertainment, there was a lack there was a bottleneck in the 3D content creation. Essentially, photoreal 3D content creation real that can run real time was definitely a problem, and a lot of productions were either limited on the use of 3D, especially for virtual production, and just limiting themselves to backdrops, 2D backdrops and plates, or just not using 3D, not using virtual production. And losing the potential of this tool. So that's why we started or we launched into this new ops. Sorry about it. This was a very. Let me go back for a second. PowerPoint doing its things. There we go. So that's why. Here we go. That's why, sorry, we started working on media entertainment and trying to solve this 3D content creation using AI. In this case, using 3D Gaussian Splatting. But we have a problem. A lot of the people, or a really important part of 3D GS creation is capturing. And a lot of the people did not have the effort nor the resources to spend time on creating and capturing and getting these 3D environments from images. That's how we we started to partner with XGRIDS. As you all may know, if you are on this webinar, XGRIDS has a really good hardware platform and software solution for 3D capture of 3D Gaussian splatting. The good thing, what they provide, is that it's very easy to capture using just the scanner and the sensor. And I would say the main three things that make this powerful is it is easy, it is fast, and it is reliable, which is the most important thing. You know that when capturing with XGRIDS, their solution or the final quality is going to be good. That's how we capture. That's why in our journey we started to partner with XGRIDS and did some stuff like you saw. How this actually looks like? Okay, there are some problems. There we go. PowerPoint is not going as expected, but yeah. And how does this partnership look like actually? How all this process? Let me just mute this. How all this process works? Well, essentially, it's a completely seamless pipeline where you will just get your electronics camera or electronics sensor. Sorry, here we're using the latest and greatest portrait cam that we all know and love. And with this camera, you are able to, as I say, capture. You can take some minutes, some hours. There's no problem that you can take people walking by. It will remove it, and once you're finished, you process that on LCC Studio. You will have a result like this, the Gaussian splats, and now is the moment to bring that into Unreal Engine, and which you will do, or you can do with all plugin, with Volinga plugin. And how to do that? It's very, very easy. You just get the PLY format and export the PLY format out of LCC Studio and import that in Unreal Engine using the plugin. And why is that workflow powerful? Well, without plugin, you are able to get relighting multiple Gaussian splats, shadow casting, HDR, and ACES workflow, which is very important for virtual production. And also, you're able to get all the virtual production features like that you already know on Unreal Engine, like end display, color correction volumes, color correction regions, etc. So with all this pipeline, the ability or the possibilities are endless, because now you can create all this process. It took us less than 1 day from capture to having this on Unreal Engine ready to be used. You see here we're combining different Gaussian splats, different assets that we have from other environments, but also you can combine CG conventional assets. So with all this pipeline, you will remove, let's say, the heavy and boring part of creating the 3D environment, either using photogrammetry or modeling from scratch, and you will move all your work directly into the creative work and remove all this need to have, weeks or months of work, and yeah, it will happen just in 2 days. So this enables lots of use cases, but nevertheless, that I would say, even though this thing is going pretty fast, I would say this is a very standard workflow. And now I want to focus on a new workflow we are working and that could benefit from XGRIDS solution. In this case, we are showing it as a standard photogrammetry pipeline. Let's say photogrammetry or reality capture pipeline using reality scan. But this could apply, what I'm going to show could apply also with an XGRIDS scanner, getting the mesh out of XGRIDS. So this method is what we call proxy mesh based relighting or proxy mesh based normals. In this method, what all plugin will do is benefit from a proxy mesh that we won't use it for the visuals. We will only use it for getting normals, shadow casting, and what I think is more exciting, material editing. So you will be able to change the material of the Gaussian splats based on these proxy mesh based actors. So this is like combining the best of both worlds. You will have all the visuals of the Gaussian splats, but you will have the editability of a mesh, just having a low poly, low quality mesh. So what we're seeing here is how you will do that on Volinga Suite from capturing from images, but this could apply exactly the same if you do it with an XGRIDS sensor. The only thing is that instead of generating the mesh, as we are doing here with reality capture, you will have a most powerful tool, which is a portrait cam in this case, or any other XGRIDS scanner that will generate a mesh for you. As you see, this is not a high quality mesh. We are using just a low poly mesh because we want to make sure this is going to run real time. But you're going to see in a second why this is useful. I'm going to just accelerate a little bit. So yeah, what we did here is add the mesh into Unreal using a specific actor, which is Volinga mesh actor. It's an actor we added. And this actor is going to combine, as we said, the mesh and the Gaussian splat to have a better relighting, material editing, and combine the best of both worlds, I would say. I'm going to fast forward this. So what you're going to see is that we will align the mesh here. In a second, this is all the process of aligning the mesh. So you can see the mesh is not high quality. You can see the splat on the mesh. Of course, the quality, like all of them were created using the same data set and the same effort. So the mesh is directly out of reality capture. The Gaussian splat is directly out of Volinga Suite. This could happen also, as I said, with LCC Studio. But the good thing is that with this low poly mesh, it's more than enough to use it as a proxy mesh. You can see now the mesh and the Gaussian splat are aligned. You can see them intersecting here. And as long as we change this to proxy mesh-based normals, the mesh disappear. But that's because the mesh is now acting, as I said, as a proxy mesh actor. And now you can play with it and edit it and use it for better relighting, for material editing, etc. So indeed, you probably won't see it here. I'm going to show you in a different video. You can see the reflections happening. But for instance, you can see how the flow of this in this small part, we changed the flow material by a reflective material. And now you can see the flow actually reflecting the green sphere here. But also you can see the light bouncing on of this sphere, the light bouncing on this holes that were there in. So this is a very powerful pipeline because, as I said, you can use it with standard photogrammetry pipelines, but you can also use your XGRIDS sensor and extract the PLY and the mesh out of it and get something like this. I'm going to show you a small, this was like a preliminary result. I'm going to show you this, which is a much higher quality result because we use a better mesh. For that, you can see how the mesh, how all the lights interact. We can see the reflections on the floor. You can see how this is the self shadows. You can see the lights entering here. You can see the flow being reflective. So this is essentially using the Gaussian splats, the visual of the Gaussian splats, but all the power of meshes, reducing the time and effort you need to create all of this, but having the visual quality we all wanted. And not only the visual quality, also the effects and the interactivity we all need, not only for media entertainment, but also for immersive experiences, visualization, video game, etc. So, as I said, this is a pipeline we recently just launched it, and we are very excited about. And as I said, combining it with XGRIDS scanner for generating the mesh, probably this is going to be very useful for all of you. And finally, I wanted to show a small project that we actually did with the XGRIDS team. Oh, well, more than we did, the team in the project used combined XGRIDS and Volinga plugin. So this project is called Picture from Auschwitz. To give you a brief context, if you, well, probably you all know about Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp, and we all know what happened there, unfortunately. But the thing is, the Auschwitz-Birkenau Foundation does not allow to shoot in the camp, essentially for respect the memorial of the victims. Not even Spielberg was allowed to shoot the Schindler List there. But also the foundation has another side of it, let's say, because they want people to tell his stories of what happened there, especially now that it's been in the past. This year was the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the camp, so they want to tell these stories. The problem they have always faced is that if they don't want to shoot there, but they want people to tell stories, they needed to provide a digital replica of the camp, and this was literally not feasible because of, well, on the one side, the cost. They are a non-profit organization, so they could not expend huge costs on the photogrammetry of all this, and also the time, because they only close 2 days, Christmas and New Year's, and therefore you are not able, or well, with traditional pipeline, creating a digital replica was impossible. So with this new pipeline, combining XGRIDS and Volinga, the team led by Maciek, which is the one on the left here, it was just a three-person team. We're able to capture the most significant part of the camp, which are like this small part, the door, and the memorial. And we're able to create 3D assets ready for virtual production. So now, with these assets, anyone in the world can tell stories of what happened in Auschwitz without the need of going there and disrupt the memorial of the victims. Now these models are publicly available if you submit a form telling your project to the Auschwitz-Birkenau Foundation. But what I like most of this is not a project that now it's cheaper or faster. It's a project that was not possible before, and with these new pipelines that we are all seeing with 3D Gaussian Splatting is now possible. So yeah, that's the end of my presentation. If I'm not mistaken, that's it. So I think the Q&A session is after Mindy's and Brian. And I am presentation, but thank you very much. Oh, you're muted, Mindy?
Yeah, thank you for this presentation, and it's very powerful and brief, but it's really showed the power of that pipeline and some very good cases, especially that Auschwitz one, and I think that one is going to Paris this summer, and it's well known by the community. And I got several of them, several questions, and someone just make some question in the comment area. Sure. The first question would be that the most interesting cases that you've done with Volinga AI what kind of case is that?
The most interesting one, well, the one that I can tell, because there are some things that still need to be released. But, well, Always Birkenau is definitely one of them. But there is one, we'll say, happening with a big producer house. If everything goes well, it will be out in November. Sorry, it was going to go out in November. It will be out in January finally. It's a use case. I'm not going to say the name, but people will find out very soon. Essentially, a use case where the technology was used to digitalize sitcom sets. The main problem of this company is that they produce, well, sitcoms and daily series very, very fast, and they needed to just remove the environment once the set is built, and then go for the next one. And the problem they have is that usually they needed to like something at the end of the production is okay. We don't like that scene. We have to remake it, or we need some interviews with the actors for the show, and the set was no longer there. So they use 3D Gaussian Splatting, let's say, as an insurance. So they scan all the sets, and now they have it on the digital backlog. And whenever they need to retake or do a reshoot of a specific scene, or they have to do interviews with the actors, even podcasts, they have done podcasts there. They just use this on a LED wall and pretend to be on the set, but the set is it has been gone for a long time. But yeah, they are doing now, as I said, is like a production machine of this kind of series. So now they're integrated that, and I think that's showing how powerful that can be, because before they were not able, like with the 3D they have, or well, with the cost of 3D and the time they need for the 3D, it was unthinkable to do this for all the sets they have for all their productions.
Yes, and as you mentioned, from that location scouting to pre-visualizations, this reality capture technology really helped them to understand the whole space and
Yeah.
to have some decoration before, and also to do some like virtual production at the moment. And then I would choose several questions from the comment
Sure.
area, and I think most of them are very interested. The first one is coming from Oliver, as our buddy. Will there be an alignment issue when combining mesh and Gaussian splats? What can we do to prevent this from happening to make the alignment effect at best? And I
Yeah.
think that would be a very smart one. Yeah. So
Yeah, definitely. So depends on, like, if you create your mass and using, let's say, the same source data. So for example, in the sample we saw what with reality capture, but if you use that with XGRIDS, you have done, like, you have your Gaussian splats and your mesh coming from XGRIDS, or your Gaussian splats and your mesh coming from reality capture plus Volinga suite pipeline. You will have already done a good piece of work, because the scale will match, which is an important thing. Well, it's not the only important thing, but I will say it's the most difficult thing if you add 1 degree of difficulty. Nevertheless, right now you will still need to align visually, let's say, the mesh and the Gaussian splat. We recommend to export the colors of the mesh, because they usually, you don't need them, but they visually, to align them, and for the artist they are a good reference. And also, I would say we are working on tools to make this happen easier, but right now it's a bit of a manual work to align everything together. But as I said, if you have all the mesh and the Gaussian splats at the same scale, so you graded them using the same tools, this should be easier than, if you bring your mesh from somewhere else, and probably you will need to match the scale too.
yes, for XGRIDS, it's still very difficult questions. And for us, for Gaussian splats, we think it should not be like replace the mesh workflow. It should be have some like collaboration together. So we also have the solution that we generate mesh at the same time. Even though that mesh is not a high resolution mesh, and that one is output without any texture, but it's okay for a collision and for that collision purposes. And then let's go to next question from another LinkedIn user. All these demos seem quite good. How long do you recommend scanning a model to meet the requirements of the screen? I think this question would be a very good one, because
Yeah.
at this moment, I think 3D Gaussian Splat is very good. It's very convenient for location scouting and pre-visualization. But if we want to project into the screen, it should meet some requirements.
Yeah, definitely. So that's always a tricky question, because that essentially depends on how big the location is, and the amount of details they have. So there is no, like, a rule of thumb of, capture 2 minutes per square meter of the location. But what I will suggest is not capturing longer, or, like, well, of course, no rush. Like, try to be patient, plan your scan before going there. Like, just not appear on the location and go there and capture. Just think a little bit on, okay, I want these parts to look better, or these other parts probably have more details, because you have, I don't know, some vegetation, some trees, some high detailed textures. So probably I need to spend more time on these. And also try always to avoid motion blur, which, if you go very fast, what may happen. Try to avoid things that are changing and moving. Even though with XGRIDS you can definitely remove people that are just passing by, but the easier we put that to the algorithm, the better. And yeah, also some other tricks are overcast days are always really good for capturing. And we actually published a blog on last week on our webpage where our 3D artist Marcos explains his experience on how to capture, and because there are some we call this movements, but actually some patterns, some capture patterns that are better, where you try to look for parallax, where you try to move yourself and have a 3D, as much observations of the same point of view as possible. But yeah, so I wouldn't say there is not like a rule of thumb of this long you have to capture. Is of course no rush, be patient, and plan ahead. Plan ahead. So when you have a good plan when you go there, a strategy is the key. And yeah, definitely, as I said, it's faster than photogrammetry, but still you have to put some effort and time and thinking how to capture and yeah, be patient.
Yeah, exactly. And most of the time, I always be afraid of the quality, whether it's good enough for that big screen and for that virtual production. So, is there any like functions for enhance the quality or the resolution of Gaussian splats for Volinga? Is there
Sorry,
any like
I,
is there
I
any
just use
function
it.
for sharpen that result of Gaussian splats?
So not yet, not yet. We are working on it. Especially we are working on the engine side to have some improvements, some sharpness method. You can always use a Unreal Engine based
Yeah.
methods, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely Gaussian splats are their own animal, their own beast, and yeah, we are working on it. But right now, I would say if you do a good capture and you have good quality, that's how always gonna yield to the best result.
Yes, yes, exactly. And then let's go to another one. This from our old friend Lucas. I have been working with 3DGS and GAN engine since 2024. Still have not completely solved the visual uncanny valley between synthetic CG assets and 3DGS captures used in one level. I think this one is that, yeah, synthetic CG assets and 3DGS captures. Do you have any solution with like integrate different assets together?
Oh, definitely. So right now with all so from what Lucas I'm saying here is saying, well, he's excited about the mesh base, which I think we should be too. But with Volinga, the good thing is that you can integrate 3D assets and meshes without any problem. The only limitation, if you don't use Approximates, if you use it, there is no limitation. But if you don't use Approximates, the only limitation is that the 3D GS won't cast shadows on the meshes. It will happen the other way around. So you can add 3D meshes, you can use it for casting shadows, but also, especially for the filmmaking industry, they will live in the same space. I'm referring to, for example, when you apply depth of field, this depth of field is going to be seamless between the 3D elements and the 3D GS element. Also, when you apply light changes, they will affect both of them. So I would say now, like I will for sure recommend Lucas trying the new method of proximate space. But I think that's the gap of the uncanny valley between synthetic 3D assets and 3D GS captures is definitely close now. Like we have used this a lot. Actually, one of the videos, I think the one on Barsaw, shows how we add 3D GS and also some chairs and tables that were 3D assets. So yeah, I would say go for it, and I think hopefully this is solved now.
Yeah, yeah. And that relighting function will help a lot to align those different assets.
Yeah, definitely. Also, the post-process volumes and color correction volumes. Yeah,
Yeah. And another one come from David. Great to see how 3DGS is combined with traditional green screen. Yes, this days not only with the LED, and I think green
that's it.
screen also solution that's quite cost effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, there is a use case we have not mentioned here, which is for the media entertainment industry. But all the videos we saw is filmmaking, but for broadcast, I think it's just a really big use case. Combining green screen and virtual production for broadcast and scanning locations, and being able, to have your presenter there. There are a lot of studios There are a lot of broadcast stations where they are presenting mixed reality projects, like especially for the weather or some like disasters or sports. Which right now is only at the hand of big broadcast producers, only with a lot of time ahead. And now with this pipeline of 3D GS, you can have this scan real quick and have these mixed reality experiences happen earlier in the day. So I think, yeah, 3DS and green screen definitely is also a winning workflow.
Yeah, great. And we are expect that there are more and more interesting cases coming up. And then, still, David, does 3DGS help setting up the material properties of the mesh?
So it's the other way around. So right now we are not extracting materials for 3DS. 3DS actually, you can see the 3DS as not having any material because it's actually not a mesh. What you will do with the mesh actor is change the mesh material properties and transact that to the 3DGS. So that's for you as an example. On the example I saw before, the flow, the real flow is like completely opaque, like has not reflective behavior. But because for Unreal, the 3DS is just pure albedo and RGB color. Also the shadows, for instance, when you capture and you have shadows, the shadows will be baked in on the albedo. However, what we did is add this 3D mesh, proxy mesh, and change the material of the flow to a more metallic one. And then what this happened with our new integration is that for Unreal Engine, the material will reflect from the Gaussian splat. Now it will have a metallic coefficient that is not originally on the Gaussian splat, because, as I said, the Gaussian splat it doesn't have that information. So with this mesh, you will be able to apply those changes and change. So essentially, what you will, in the render pipeline, let's say the visuals and the albedo will be coming from the Gaussian splat. The RGB will come from the Gaussian splat. Everything else will be coming from the mesh, which means normals, which means materials. You can also apply normal maps if you want to change the normals of the 3 Gaussian splats. And as I said, all the materials changes you apply. So let's say the texture, if we call it that way, the texture, but it's not only the texture, it's also the geometry. The texture will be coming from the Gaussian splat. The rest of the materials and of the patches, the materials and the normals, will be coming from the mesh.
Yeah, great. And yes, for over like the original at the first stage for applying 3DGS, that people may say that 3DGS there is a big problem for 3DGS. There is no material for the 3DGS properties. However, with the Volinga's relighting functions and many of the tools that Unreal Engine may enable you to do so, you can do many like very similar things with 3DGS. And to combine those two different pipelines, I think is the best solution at this moment. And then we move on to another question. From Phil, do you see this technology as a replacement for LiDAR on film sets, or do you see this as something that is complementary to LiDAR?
So if you refer...
Yeah, it's try to compare with the traditional LiDAR scans, and the original pipeline would apply the LiDAR point clouds to do the mesh models or photogrammetry things for that. But at this moment, the 3DG has a very good photoreal sets for like not only the location scouting but also the previs. And how about your opinion, Fernando?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I think it's not replacing LiDAR, it's replacing mesh. So you will use the LiDAR for creating a mesh, but also you will use the LiDAR for creating a 3DGS. And you can use the LiDAR for creating both and combine them, as we saw in the latest workflow. That's really it's essentially what you would do with XGRIDS. So if you think about it, LiDAR is just a way of capturing data, and the same way as images. So it will be like you won't replace the images with Gaussian splat. You will use the images to create Gaussian splats. So it's the same thing. It's another way of make the most out of your data. So LiDAR is definitely complementary and also really good for Gaussian splatting.
Yeah, and to explain this solution, why XGRIDS combine the LiDAR with visual sensors together is to get a better alignment and to get an accurate spatial data together. And originally, the data solution is try to acquire an accurate spatial data for example, to get some measurement purposes can be better fulfilled. However, with the 3D Gaussian splat, especially those measurable 3DGS, and some of the LiDAR solution can be replaced. And these days, the solution, XGRIDS solution, try to combine the accuracy, try to combine the LiDAR with the visual source together and reach the balance between the accuracy, spatial accuracy, or the physics accuracy with the visualization effects. So that's the thing. And another one from Wadmer, maybe I suppose that does the Volinga plugin support low level of details of forest splat? And if not, are the plans to add this feature?
Yeah. So right now we have not level of detail. We have some features to change trade-off quality and detail. I'm sorry, quality and performance. But yeah, that is definitely a plan. There's something we are working on. And as you may imagine, now that LCC has open sourced XGRIDS has open sourced the LCC file format, which has those wall partitions and level of details. This is gonna come all together. So yes, there are plans to add in this feature. We're not supported yet. You can trade off performance and quality right now, but there's definitely plans to have this at the beginning of next year.
Yes, I think those function is the one that I want most. Yes, especially for those large scale cases.
Yeah.
And XGRIDS try to output different level of details, PLY, and the LCC format also supports that level, that lots, different lots, and with the collision files together with one folder. So maybe in the future, very soon, we will have this kind of thing happen. And we have like 2 plug-in. From this one from Oliver again. How is the effect for the plugin in VR? Is there any plan or the function?
So until now, it was not supported. But let me say that probably we'll have a nice Christmas present before the end of the year.
Wow. Yeah, that will be a Christmas present. And then we have another one. Are these tools easy to learn for beginners?
So I would say definitely one of the things we have seen most combining with SGRIDS compared to capturing on the wild is that the learning curve is much easier for beginners on the SGRIDS sensor. Of course, there is always a learning curve, but I think starting with SGRIDS sensor it's a really good choice instead of going out with your own camera and capture. And then you have Unreal Engine that be patient.
Yeah.
Unreal Engine is a very complex tool, and it's its own wall because it's a tool that is used for a lot of industries. So as you may imagine, it's very heavy. And then Unreal Engine is a bit more complex. All plugin is once you know Unreal Engine, all plugin is designed to be as an extension of it, so it should be very natural. But yeah, and for the capture, I definitely would recommend starting with Portrait Cam, for instance, because it's much easier and much, let's say, rewarding than starting just capturing from you going in the wild with your camera.
Yeah, thank you for that words. And yes, for beginners, I think that also have different concepts. For example, if you are a beginner with 3D, and I think it's quite easy for you to get some background information of how to understand the whole industry things and the tools. But if you are a beginner with or different kinds of tools, it's still taking some time to learn how to get an Unreal Engine result. Yeah, so I think this part we have already answered most of the questions here, and then I will make the time to Ian's recorded version for his webinar. Thank you, Fernando, for this part, and we will go back for the last part that we can have a discussion about the future possibility. Thanks, and here is the time to.
And specifically, if we look at these piano, the hammers, the keys. All right, so my name. Come on, buddy. Come on. All right, so my name's Ian Messina, the founder of Dimension 5. We have a creative technology company, and I'm also the director of virtual production for Studio Lab. Now, I wanted to start this by bringing you into our space, basically the space that we're going to be scanning. Now, what's really great about this space is there's a lot going on. You have a lot of this texture on the wall, different materials, and specifically, if we look at these piano, the hammers, the keys, felt like this was a good location to actually start our adventure off. And so what I'm going to do here is actually kind of show you the scan path that I used while I was capturing this room. And so we used the portal cam for this capture as a test and spent the, I'd say 15 to 20 minutes going around and getting every detail of this room. Now, when you're starting off on these captures, the best thing to do is get a capture of the entire location. What I mean by that is you want to give the camera as much information about where it is in space. And so what I'll start to do is I'll generally get as close as I can to either one of these walls and scan inward at a bunch of different heights. One pretty much head height, one high, and one incredibly low. And so I'll do a couple passes, 3 or 4 passes, but then the next thing that I'm going to focus on is getting detailed close-up shots of things that I know we're going to focus on, like some of the amps, the piano, and some of the more complex objects like that post over there that has pretty much light coming off it, a lot of reflective material. Once I do that, then I'm really just mapping it out in my mind, also using the app that's great with these cameras to see what the coverage is. And so the best thing when you're working with these cameras is to really try it and like learn from your scan pass, find what works, find what doesn't work. And as you continue on, each material, each scenario, each location, they all have different things going on when you're actually capturing with them. Now, the next thing we'll do is we'll actually take you into our studio so you can kind of see what it takes to get this on a video wall. Now, when we think about virtual production, the goal is to just recreate the space that we're in as close as possible. But not only that, we want to make it usable for productions in the future as well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you into Studio A, show you the process of what it takes to go from the scan to the process onto the video wall. And we have that all prepped and ready for you as well. So this is Studio A that we're going to be going in right now. And I'm going to show you what the computer looks like, and then we're going to show you what it looks like on the wall up and running. So this is Studio A. You can already see the captures already up and running, but I don't want to spoil it yet. We're going to get into the software with XGRIDS first. And so I am alone by myself here in the middle of the night at the studio, so please bear with me as I set you up on this tripod here. But I have the software or the scan right here up and running, and I just want to show you a couple things that I'm really impressed by. Now, we did shoot this the other day, so it's a little bit cleaner, but I was really impressed by the overall results of the scan. Now, you saw what it looked like in there. There's a lot of complex material that we were working with, but overall, I'm like really impressed by the fidelity and how it held up here. I mean, even down to the texture on these amplifiers, they're maintained, right? And over here, if we look at the keyboard hammers, you can even make out. And you know, look at some of these strings, you know? The thicker chords obviously show up better than the thinner chords, but even at that, I was really impressed. You can read the logo of the actual piano there. And then this is my favorite part, is like you can actually go into the TV here because it's a reflection. And Gaussian Splats, well, they love reflections, and they do a really good job at kind of recreating it. This is the back of that TV, and then you're coming in on this side. And so overall, just wanted to show you what it looks like. I'll show you the point cloud as well. And this is all running on a web-based user interface that XGRIDS pretty much allows you to upload and review their scans. And so this is the point cloud. You're seeing a pretty large mesh here of points, and we'll get out of that. Another thing I wanted to show you in the software is just this avatar mode that I kind of have too much fun with, like jumping around and going around. But what's really cool is like this actually generates collisions as well. So I can actually walk through and jump on top of this piano that I wouldn't do in real life because that would damage the piano, but we're just having fun here and just going with it. But as you see here, it really gives you a lot of opportunity for, you know, a bunch of different ways to develop with this new platform. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is we would take this file and we would bring it into Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine's just our choice of 3D software to use for virtual production. It seems to be industry standard and we like to use it. And so I'm just going to quickly pop over here and show you what it takes to get it all set up in Unreal Engine. So when we look at the overall project, the thing that we want to focus on, or the thing that I focused on when I loaded it in Unreal Engine, was the actual location. Now, this is a desert scan. It's a little overexposed. Just give me a second so we get our recording studio here. I love that this is live and we just got to make it work. So this is the recording studio in Unreal Engine. Now, it's going to look a little bit lower quality on here just because it's not projecting on the wall. But what we've done is we've actually been able to cut it in half. If I take my clipping volume and we come back here, you can see we've opened up this wall. And so this is actually the wall. If I take this and look over here, that's facing the other area. And so think about this just from a creative standpoint, perspective-wise. I can take this and chop the wall in half, and now I have a full view of our studio from this angle. Now, this is incredibly important because when we get it on our wall, we don't want to be looking through basically a mesh or something that's not there. And so it's actually really helpful to utilize this system. The other cool part about this is it's relightable. So you actually can come in here, and just for the fun of it, let's just take our directional light and drop it down to something you can't see. And I can actually come in here, take some lights, drop a point light in here, and move it around, right? And so the relightability of these assets are continuing to get better and better, especially when you use Volinga's plugin. They have an ability to actually cast shadows on objects, which is exciting. It's actually really exciting. So I'm just going to go back into our sun and sky, bring that exposure back up, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like on our video wall. But before that, I am going to show you what it looks like to actually operate and run this inside a program called Disguise. We use Disguise on our end. It helps us just stay organized, makes it really easy to map content, whether that be video content or Gaussian Splat content or just Unreal content. And so when we look in here, as we go around, we're actually seeing the camera being tracked. This is getting all of our data, ins and outs. I know a lot of people who have studios probably understand all of this and know how this works, but for those who are interested and just curious, this is what this all looks like. We're getting our location XYZ data and our rotation here, and that allows us to project it on the wall. Now, I won't go too much into this because it does get complex, and I'm going to bring you over to the exciting part, which is the robot and the LED wall. So I'm going to move you really quick, and I'm going to show you what's going on here. All right, so this right here is our LED wall, and I'll just focus on the robot so you can see it, and maybe just zoom in just a little bit. If that looks, I hope that looks good for you guys. But what you're seeing is real-time rendering and camera tracking with this robot. Now, you can swap the robot out for anything like Moses or any type of object tracking system. But the real important part here is that you're getting data from this camera and you're able to project it onto the wall. And so what's really exciting about this is you can actually see on the wall here, parallax is happening. It's being maintained. It's happening around this object that's up in front, but also if you're looking in kind of this window here, you're seeing parallax through the window. And the crazy part is we didn't even scan through the window. It's actually maintained that look and feel automatically for us. Now, this is just one environment, which is the great part. I actually can jump to a completely separate environment here, which I'll do now, which is I'm just going to be opening up this recording, and we're going to go to the desert. And this, in 2 seconds, is bringing us to the desert. Now, this is a little bit overexposed for you, so I'm actually going to drop our exposure. But we actually recorded this one, this scan, because again, we went from an interior scan to an exterior scan, and so the harsh, hard light on this one is coming through, and it's actually overexposing our image, as it should. But I just wanted to quickly show you how quickly it is to go from one location to the other. This is our friend Disguise logo up here, giving us a nice product placement. But I'm going to go back to that recording studio right here, and I want to just show you how quick it is. And also, I just want to show you our points. So this, as I take down our aperture, or sorry, not our aperture, our global alpha scale of the actual objects or points in this render, you're starting to see it all go away. And it's actually really cool because you can get some really interesting effects, kind of like at this point, that it feels like we're almost in like a ghost town. Now I'm going to go back to the recording studio just because I want to show you something on the monitor here, and I'm going to pick you up and show you. But as this robot is going back and forth, you're getting the parallax in an interesting way, and it allows for us to have complete freedom over the camera. And so what I'll do is, this is our robot here, and so I'm just going to show you quickly. We're going to hit rehearse, we're going to go forward, and we're going to run that move. And as the robot is running left to right here, what you're seeing, that is our shot. And it looks as if we're looking almost directly in that world here. And I'll put them both together so you can see them at the same time. But that is a full system up and running. And when you talk about digital world creation or digital world building, the exciting part is this would take me forever to do, or forever to create, I guess is what I'm saying. I'm going to put you back down so I can actually talk to you guys here. Thank you for being patient with my one-man band here. Get up in exposure. But yeah, the great part about scanning digital environments or physical worlds is, if I was going to try and recreate something like this, it would take me weeks, if not months. And I'm not great in full 3D and modeling stuff to scale. And so the XGRIDS scanner really allows us to just go to locations, capture that location. Whether we're going to use it in our virtual production sets or not, sometimes we're on location or on a set and be like, hey, let's just grab this really quick for later, just in case we need pickups. And that's exactly what it allows us to do. And then on top of this, we actually can move around. So I actually can go into our software, keep everything in a location, and what you're seeing here is that red is just showing us we're moving it, but I actually can physically move the environment, and we can, I don't know, let's get right up close to this piano here, get further away or closer up, and so it's allowing us all the flexibility like that we have in our regular virtual production workflows, and it's pretty good as far as real time goes. And so overall, just trying to show you the flexibility and versatility that this file allows for. And I think the cool part here, just like kind of riffing and going off the cuff, is like this technology, as far as hardware goes, you know, when you talk about the Portal Cam or the K1, it's like the algorithms and the software side is only going to get better. And I think that's the best part. Is like, I've always been obsessed with time travel and teleportation. And I think this is the closest that I can get to it right now. And so if that's the case, and if that's true, if you hold on to your source files that you captured for the next couple of years, well, you can always go back and rerun those processes, and ideally, you're getting a better result. And so, yes, the capture method does matter. The ability for you to understand how to capture a scene is very important. But overall, when we talk about these virtual production workflows, it doesn't just end at LED wall. This works with green screen. In our Studio B, we're messing with some motion capture, tying both XGRIDS scans and motion capture together. It's really up to you at that point, once you capture the world around you, to figure out how you want to use it best. And so, other than that, I think that's all on my mind. I hope this was super helpful. I know I can't see everybody here because I'm just running and gunning, and it's a little bit late here in the U.S. But I hope this was, just something for you to take a look at. And again, if it's helpful, feel free to reach out, connect with me on Instagram. And if you guys are looking to purchase the camera, I'm sure that the XGRIDS team has a link for you below here somewhere. So. As you guys go through, as you guys capture the world around you, I'm always interested to see what other people are creating, what other people are doing. And then even on top of that, as this camera is more and more used, what does it look like to be on virtual production stages all around the US or all around the globe, sharing the same file and being in the same location all at the same time? So yeah, that's my rant. I hope, again, like I said, this was really helpful, and hope to talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, we are get back to the stage. Yeah, thank you for Ian's talk, and it's very dynamic, and he just bring us back to his studio. Yeah, and Yeah. So how's your thoughts about his like presentation, Fernando? Do you have some very similar experience together with him?
No, definitely. We have been working also with Dimension 5 in studio since very long time, since we started. But I think what he showcases here is a pretty standard workflow. And like, I think the important part of it is that now with the standard workflow you already have with Unreal and these guys which are pretty well established in virtual production, these guys or any other vendor, also just using Unreal and display, is something that you don't have to change at all. 3D Gaussian Splatting has, let's say, integrated and evolved to be able to jump into this workflow. And what we are doing with 3D Gaussian Splatting is actually removing all the hurdles and all the time-consuming process in the 3D creation. So I think he showcases really well how easy you can go from one to the other. But essentially, that I think the goals we are all pursuing here is that this can happen as you will do with any 3D assets, and I think he showcased that really well.
Yeah, and I think this workflow just enable more and more studio can have the ability to do that virtual production things, and maybe
Yeah,
without LED screen or the motion camera, or the camera checking system, and with
yeah.
green screen, it can also be possible. And still several questions here. Ian is not here, so Fernando, maybe you can answer several of them for this. The first one, how does 3DGS compare to traditional photogrammetry and the LiDAR when used for film environments, especially regarding lighting consistency and spatial accuracy?
Okay, great. But if you use a software or a LiDAR like reality scan, like XGRIDS scanners, you will have full spatial accuracy. If you don't use a LiDAR, I guess, well, essentially photogrammetry and Gaussian splats are really similar in terms of spatial accuracy. If you don't use LiDAR or you don't use any GPS information, because at the end of the day, the algorithm will try to guess the scale, but probably it will fail because that's a problem that cannot be solved without any reference. So in that sense, the spatial accuracy there is certainly the same. On lighting consistency, I think that with the latest improvements on Proximesh-based methods that we have showcased, they are pretty similar. They are almost the same. I would say the only change or the only thing you cannot do with 3D Gaussian Splatting and you can do with meshes is changing the textures. But that's the only thing you can do with meshes and not with 3D Gaussian Splatting at the cost of having 10 times more effort and time in order to create meshes or photogrammetry compared to 3D Gaussian Splatting. I would say that's the only difference.
Yeah. And for now, photogrammetry still is a relatively matured pipelines. So also these days, in LiDARs, we also have some like lighting consistency, especially photogrammetry will keep a lighting consistency, and the LiDAR keep a spatial accuracy. And the 3DGS these days still try to tackle some issue with these kind of things. And sometimes I always have the question that how we can deal with the problem of the shadows in 3DGS. So do you have any solution for that shadow things?
I would definitely say the Proximesh. Like with the Proximesh, you can, well, yeah, exactly. You can cast shadows and you can cast still shadows. So right now, that's definitely the solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Maybe in the future we can have some like more detailed
Yeah,
video or instruction
definitely.
to illustrate how to tackle that issue. And another one, still very technical, what improvements are still needed for 3DGS editing tools to be fully production ready for VFX pipelines? Yeah, even though today
Well,
we are more talking about the virtual production, but
mm,
there are still many requirements and leads coming from the VFX side. And
yeah.
yes, so what's your
So
opinion?
I would say the ecosystem is still not mature enough because essentially what you say is still not a bad thing that's mature enough. But I am aware of efforts. I know there is a Nuke plugin where you can integrate Gaussian Splatting to Nuke. I say Nuke because that's probably the one of the main VFX softwares. Also Houdini. There is a plugin for Houdini with GSOps. I would say in general, what we are missing for the full VFX is a consistent color pipeline workflow. At Volinga, we provide that for Unreal Engine, but it's true that probably you won't use Unreal Engine for VFX. It's not a very standard workflow. And also, I would say, being able to animate, apply physics, deformation. Like you could do with GSOps in Houdini. It's a really good tool. And actually, you can like there is a Gaussian Splat, indeed, a 4D Gaussian Splat on the latest Superman film, for the Superman's parents hologram. They use 3D Gaussian Splatting for that. So I would say it's a Hollywood film, so it's production ready for VFX. But what we are missing is a pipeline that is consistent and easy to use, because I am pretty sure that the team on that film had to go through different problems in order to solve and put all the tools together. So yeah, I would say that's a consistent color pipeline and animation and physics. That's other thing that probably we're missing for VFX pipelines.
Yeah, and maybe even to editing the geometry of the
Yeah.
of the model. Yes, and another one. Have you ever considered integrating 4DGS into your software, or does XGRIDS support 4DGS? At this moment, XGRIDS are not. So how about Volinga?
So we don't support it yet, but we definitely consider it's something in the roadmap. The challenge is not, let's say, rendering the 4DGS. It's actually making that render 4DGS in Unreal without rendering at 2 frames per second and being able to render performance and to have a lot of 4DGS in Unreal. But yeah, we have considered this on a roadmap. It's something we are working on.
Yes, and I think today's most of the question has been asked. Oh, we got another new one. How do you minimize the delay issue when in virtual production synchronizing the virtual camera and the camera on site?
Well, that's that's more complex and also depends on a lot of other factors. Like if you saw what Ian saw, you have the LED screen, you have the processor, the LED processor, you have the camera tracking, all of that is gen lock. So I mean they have the same clock signal. What you could do on Unreal side or say on Volinga side is try to make sure you are performance enough. And if you need 24 or 34 FPS, being able to make sure your engine runs at that process and any delay is not happening because of the rendering. It's happening because the other components with computer production is a really big and complex system. We have some tools and tips on how to do that and how to make even more performance on Unreal Engine. But yeah, I would say it's not only the rendering side. It's a huge system where you will need to look at a lot of things.
Yes, and I suppose so. And even with some like very expensive camera check-in system, it still have some problem at this moment. And there are still many efficient tools need to be created at this moment. And another one from David again: Can shadows be casted directly from 3DGS, or do we still need underlaying mesh?
Yeah, yes. So the underlying mesh is going to be the best solution, but I just realized I did not say that. You can also use contact shadows on Unreal Engine, and that's set on the light source. You can add the light source to cast contact shadows, and then you will be able to cast shadows from the 3Ds. But of course, it won't be there are screen space effects, so it won't be as physically accurate as you have the mesh. But for a lot of use cases, it will do the work.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I also try to do some shadow with 3DGS, but I think its shadow is a little bit blurred, not as clear as the mesh model, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Especially that's usually because of the depth. It's probably and the geometry of the in flat surfaces of the Gaussian splatting, even though visual is really good, probably it's not completely flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so try to make the edge more clear. So we will also try to combine or underlay in the mesh. Yeah, so I think we've already answered most of the question today. And if you still have any other question, you can still list them or leave them in the comment area. We will collect them. If you have some questions for Ian, you can also send them to Ian's LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube, and he will answer with very helpful answers. And then let's go to the panel discussion today. And today we've already talked about many of the pipelines status and of today's 3DGS application in filming industry, especially for virtual production. And even for the future, still we have some like different kind of possibilities. What kind of tool or direction you think that we can move forward together? with 3DGS or any other new technology? Maybe AI.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there are some cool things happening now, like on
Or
AI
lab.
in general, like
Mhm.
wall labs, exactly, etc. But
Mhm.
I would say one of the most interesting things for me will be to start making 3ds, let's say, aware of the materials. Being able to decompose a material, 3ds in different materials, and you do not need to use this proxy mesh, having all the metallic, all the elements. I think that will be something really, really cool for the future. And that's definitely, like, I would say that the goal, or the way to do that is using AI to improve the quality of the Gaussian splats.
So could we see hybrid workflows where generative AI expands scan
Definitely.
splats into larger cinematic world?
Larger cinematic world, more information on the materials, and also maybe improving the quality. So having the source Gaussian splat and then making it better with AI, as everything is happening right now.
Yes, so I think it's a two-side thing, vice versa. And I
Yeah.
think the reality capture really helped the generative AI to better understand the real world. And the generative AI also like help the reality capture things to get somewhere that the capture sensors cannot get. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that will work. And how about that? Some people may say that generative AI will be more and more like it will be more and more cheap. It's not the right words, but its cost will getting low, and maybe the reality will be the expensive one. So what's the future would be the two direction for filming industry.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a really good question. How this is gonna evolve, if we are able, we will be even shooting again in real life. I think yes. I think we will be shooting, not because of cost itself, but also on it's very difficult to forecast this. But I think I have the intuition uh, that we will still like to see real content, real generative even though we are using Gen AI in the loop to improve, enhance, or make it faster. I think we still would like to see real people performing, and real actors and real content. If you think about it, this is like the chess. Machines can win humans in the chess, a chess for a very long time, but we are still chess tournaments, human chess tournaments are still a thing, and we don't see AIs playing chess. Like, we don't see tournaments of AI playing chess and people, looking at it and cheering the AIs. So I think it's gonna be happen like something like that. Like, it's gonna be great because everyone's gonna be able to create their own content, completely generated. But I think we humans, we still like human content. This is a completely subjective opinion. So I don't feel, but I think that's my feeling.
Yeah, so personally, I also think that for some reality scans, that would be like unique and the only one. And compared with the generative AI, you can generate it again and again, but that reality scenes you scan in one time, and that one would be the unique one in the world. So that one would be for some, maybe can be the spatial memory things,
Yeah.
and that one would be a spatial vibes for some people, even with some creative like stylish things for them to create videos and films. And another question would be that other than the filming industry or the location scouting and virtual production, what kind of new possibility do you see with 3D Gaussian splatting? And
Well,
maybe VR. And actually, I noticed there is a case from Germany that the Professor Alexander has already
mhm.
adopted XGRIDS tools and Volinga to create interactive application.
Yeah, definitely. It's endless. Everything what you see, 3D can be applied. I think 3ds can be applied. Like, you can think of VR interactive experiences. You can think of, for example, a use case that I think is growing pretty much is architectural, but also architectural visualization. So not only on site, but also previous to the building, like making the offer, selling we have had use cases where you can essentially they scan the environment, they add the 3D of the building, and then they use that to sell the apartments and to say, hey, this is how it's going to look. These are going to be your views. These are going to be the light. Uh,
Mhm.
So 3D is a new source of data that is going to be very useful for at the end of the day is sharing information between humans. And then you can think of things that are not human, like Gen AI, well, not Gen AI agents training, like robots, autonomous cars, unmanned vehicles. All of these, they are going to operate on a 3D wall, and it's not physically possible to train them on the real wall, at least from scratch, because you will require millions of years and you will require billions and trillions of dollars. So, more and more we're seeing, like NVIDIA Omniverse platform, we're seeing these platforms where you can simulate AI agents and train them and then fine-tune them on the real world. And I think these are very hungry for 3D content, and 3D GS can also serve that hunger. So I'll say the possibilities are endless.
Yes, and for us, that 3D not only means that you can see things in 3D, but also to touch and interact with. So that's not only the space, but also the objects in the space that you can interact with. And as Fernando mentioned, he also mentioned a great possibility that the AI and the robots can learn from that 3D models things, and so that they can understand the reality well. And I think we've go to the end of this webinar, and then we got the last question here from Faith. Maybe I pronounced the name right. Will there be an update that allows us to make adjustments such as exposure compensation for the cameras to better handle this lighting and contrast conditions?
Okay. So I think he's referring to the capture side or to the final.
Yeah, maybe as for XGRIDS side for that adjustment with exposure. Yeah, this with the PhotoCam we've already think about these kind of things, but at this moment it's quite hard for the sensor to do so. But in the future, it's possible. It's possible for us to have more function to do the exposure adjustment and handle the lighting and contrast condition. And at this moment, Volinga really do a good job with the relighting things to compensate such thing that not be done very precise.
Also, Fatty, if you are looking into Unreal Engine side, with Applying, we support post-process volumes, and with them you can do a lot of things to compensate exposure and handle lighting. So if you think on the Unreal side, you can also apply all these tools that Unreal provides you.
Yeah, and another one is from Kai. Are splats HDRI or can they be? Yeah.
So on Volinga Suite, we have a process to capture HDR splats using ACES workflow. Of course, it's a heavy process in terms of capturing. And then we do not, if you refer to HDR images to light the scene, we do not support that yet, but they can be. And that's something we have on our roadmap. To be able to light other, not receiving light, but also have the splats lighting the rest of the elements in the environment.
Yeah, so at this moment, I think 3D Gaussian splats is the result of the spatial computing of the image, and we also use that LiDAR things to align the points and let every photos know which position should they stay. And however, HDR information are very seldom used for the HDR things. But in the future, if you use better cameras or the better sensors to do so, HDR can be counted within this calculating procedure, I suppose. They will in the future. Yeah. Yeah, so, and I think it's the end, it's going to an end of today's webinar. And I think it's a very successful and powerful one. First, I must appreciate Fernando's and Ian's today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so thank you for your attending and for all of you supporting. And we will have another one in the future. In December, we will have another webinar talking about XR and VR, how we applied 3GS into XR and VR. And I think that Fernando's and Volinga's case will also be mentioned at that time.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much, Mindy.
Yeah, thank you. See you next time. See you in next webinar.
Bye.
Bye-bye.